It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the movies of December 1st, 2000, which really isn't a lot. I mean, it's a really unimpressive weekend in terms of new releases, but no big new releases to talk about, but there is one that was re-released this weekend that might as well do an episode on. So let's take a look at the movie that we're basically going back in time to the 60s when Beatlemania was at its highest. This is, of course, the re-release of A Hard Day's Night. Or as most people would like to call it, what Spice World was trying to do 2 years ago and failed miserably at. But, I mean, this is a film that is basically, the story is that you have, it's not even really a story, honestly, but you have 36 hours in the life of the Beatles as they prepare for a television performance, and the movie literally is just them at the peak of their success. I mean, this is right in the middle of when the Beatles were at their highest point. Of course, the Beatles are, of course, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr. And you have Richard Lester here, who, of course, you may know as the director of the Superman movies, Superman 2 and Superman 3. This film is basically like, I mean, so what is the big question I think a lot of people would be asking is, so why did a movie like Spice World, that was trying to do the exact same thing for the 90s, failed so miserably at it? Meanwhile, a movie like A Hard Day's Night is considered to be a classic by many people. Well, Spice World failed mostly because it was a film that just had no idea what it was trying to do. They just had the Spice Girls, and they thought that was going to be the only selling point of the movie. Plus, it was seen as a completely over-the-top movie that was so ridiculously stupid, even for its own good. Like, even if the intention was to be so bad it's good, they failed on so many levels there. But here, I think the big difference between this movie and Spice World comes down to one simple thing. Honest realism, because, like I said, this was right at the height of Beatlemania. They're right in the middle of London, of course, where they live and their success is at. And you could believe that this was probably something that happened in real life. You could believe that there were so many people that wanted to be around them, and you could believe that they were on these crazy adventures. And this film was a success because they were playing along with the idea, and they made it a lot of fun. I mean, this film has a lot of influential elements to it, just in musical films in general. The Monkees TV show was actually inspired by this. Music videos. This was a movie that was so much considered to be the introduction to the music video. And a lot of other low-budget films like this, parodies like The Ruddles from the late 70s, early 80s, and stuff like John Borman's Catch Us If You Can, even something like This Is Spinal Tap. I mean, this movie had a lot of huge influences that it took later on down the road. I mean, the Beatles, they made some pretty fun movies overall. This one, and also, of course, Yellow Submarine, which is fun in a number of different bizarre ways because of the way it's because of the animation and all that. But I don't know. Maybe one day we'll get to that if it does get a re-release at some point here. But I don't think we're going to be mentioning it here on this show. But maybe when we get to flashback on the flashback show, maybe we'll do it. But kind of rambling on at this point. But this is a movie that really does not have a whole lot in terms of a story or anything too in-depth about it, but it's one of those movies that you can always go back to, and it's just kind of like, I see why this movie is still so much fun. It's a silly, fun rock and roll movie with these four guys, and you can tell that they really did like this idea, and they like playing around with this idea, and it shows on screen. I mean, it's a really fun, over-the-top film, and it has great music to it. I mean, the Beatles made a lot of great music, and it's a lot of it in this movie. And the cinematography, it's great to see it in black and white. Like, I think that's the best way to handle a story like this. And it knows what it wants to do. It knows to go in and get in and get out. And it just knows that it's there to have fun, and it really does a phenomenal job of handling that. I think it is a film that still very much holds up after all these years. I mean, this year's the 60th anniversary of its release, and the fact that it's still entertaining 60 years later tells you a lot about what this movie's lasting legacy is. I mean, it's a really fun film overall. Maybe it's not their best movie overall. I would probably say Yellow Submarine, just for the fun factor and also the WTF-ness of that film. But this one's just close to as good as that one, and maybe even more so by other people. But it's a fun movie. It's a really fun movie that knows exactly what it's trying to do, and it delivers on all of that. Like, it's a really good fun film. I can't recommend this one enough. A hard day's night. I really love it. If you haven't seen it, you're doing yourself a huge disservice by not doing so. So with that said, that's going to do it for this episode of Time About the Movies. It wasn't a great week overall, but next week we'll definitely make up for it. We'll have a lot of interesting things to talk about, including Vertical Limit. We also have Russell Crowe and Meg Ryan in Proof of Life. That has a little bit of an interesting behind-the-scenes story to it. The infamous Dungeons and Dragons, and also one of the big breakout hits of the year, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and another breakout hit, Guy Ritchie's Snatch. So we've got 5 movies to look at next time around, so we'll definitely make up for this week with the next episode. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the place on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So with that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.